that the newt yard had taken a severe beating, and those are summer splits in my newt yard. There was about 28 colonies, and down to 7, one of them being a breeder queen. The yard was not treated. The summer splits were not managed well, and I may have been greedy in trying to save as many colonies as I can just to keep numbers up, instead of taking my losses in the fall like you should, and combining colonies instead of just slapping honey supers on top of them. James Lee with James Lee's Bees. Sunday, February 23rd. It's about 34 degrees. Out checking some of the bees to see if there's been any additional losses since I last dropped emergency feed on some of these colonies at the end of January. And I'll say that I'm not shocked by what I've seen. And I don't feel like what I'm experiencing is anything similar to what we're seeing across the country. So I'm not seeing anything similar to what we're experiencing across the country, but there are losses. There are winter losses, and it's been a hard, cold winter, and I'm sick of it. A lot of the colonies in this yard are still doing pretty well. Everybody's up top high, however. There's been no new losses since the last time I verified losses in this yard, and that's a good thing. And for those that are watching that have seen the viral dancing video of me getting popped by my wonderful bees over here, they are still alive also. I'm not gonna lie and say that I wasn't hoping they'd be dead, because then I don't have to deal with them, but hopefully it was just a wintertime behavioral issue and it's not an actual temperament issue. We'll see. So I'm sitting here with hive number 70, and this colony is interesting because it was on the cusp of a 5% infestation threshold, which is about what I use as a cutoff if I'm going to treat a colony as 5% infestation in the fall. That's 15 mites in the wash. And sometimes it could go a little higher, a little lower. It's just like an observation of what's the colony like, what's the colony strength like. Is there deformed wing virus, obvious issues with the colony or the brood? How's the queen laying? A lot of factors go into making those decisions. That's why you can't just prophylactically treat every colony if you're looking for better stock. There's a lot of things that go into making the decision, but for me, 5% has been the typical threshold. So this colony was at 5%, but I did a Harbo assay on the colony, and I evaluated the brood to determine how many reproductive mites were actually in the brood. And what I found was that this would score a 3 on the Harbo scale, which indicates somewhere around 75%, at least 75% VSH. So a 4 would be between 80 and 100% expected VSH alleles or VSH traits in the colony based on that assessment scale. But this one scored a 3, and the expectation is that a 3 and sometimes even a 2 could be reasonably expected to survive without treatment. So what this tells us is that this colony, although it has a varroa load, also has these alleles, but is still surviving despite that. So the colony is very much alive. They are mostly up top here on the sugar feed, which is reasonably expected. There is also stores in the colony, but I couldn't stand it, so I put sugar on them. And they are probably going to pull through as we get through to a warm-up here in the great state of Michigan. That one bit the dust rather early. That one also bit the dust, I believe. That one right there is the one that was tagging me up. And they are very much alive. This colony is also alive. All of these are untreated colonies. None of these received treatments at the end of the year last year. So far, so good at this yard. The nucleus yard, not so much. That one looks faint, but I just popped the top. They're up top. There's not a lot of food in that last one. That one's alive. Out of these four, this one here is the one that was not treated based on the assay and the mite wash counts. I'm gonna go take a walk down here because this is the airport yard. It's always flooded and I don't want to get the truck stuck because everything's kind of thawing a little bit. Good old airport yard. So I was mentioning a little bit ago that the newt yard had taken a severe beating, and those are summer splits in my newt yard. There was about 28 colonies and down to 7, one of them being a breeder queen. The yard was not treated. The summer splits were not managed well, and I may have been greedy in trying to save as many colonies as I can just to keep numbers up instead of taking my losses in the fall like you should, and combining colonies instead of just slapping honey supers on top of them, hoping for the best. Now, it is what it is, right? It's still not great having to deal with those losses, but at the same time, those colonies that are surviving are going to probably be thriving because nature is a pretty hardcore selector, if you will. Last time I was here, everybody was humming along and alive. So I'm going to go down to the end here. This is a mess I leave in the yard because I'm always leaving messes. And take a look and see how these guys are all doing. So you guys are going to learn right along with me. Looks good there on that stand. That stand is looking great. This one standing alone by itself looks fine. That is a 5/5 medium stack, and they're doing good. Good here. Good here. These guys all look great. Now this colony here had a serious mite load. Matter of fact, it was so bad that it may have required additional treatment above and beyond what you typically would. I'll probably talk about that later. But there was a treatment of Apogard in the brood nest and then above the nest, and you split the dose so you get more coverage because it was a large colony. It was very tall, but they're doing great despite the high mite load. I'm pleased with that. I believe that colony also was knocked over. I'll see if I can find the picture and put it here. That was knocked over and laying out in the cold, wet rain for a few days. And I picked them back up, and hopefully they're queen right. Now that box is alive. These guys are all alive. A couple of these colonies are pretty salty, so I'm gonna have to make some decisions about the queens over here. But This yard is looking pretty great. I'm definitely pleased with the results. So, walking back to the truck, the yard I could probably drive on this. It's not too bad. It's probably going to be flooded in the spring though. One of the problems with this yard is that it's surrounded by industrial, and those parking lots are all paved, and that water just runs off into the back here. So the hive stands are located in areas where they typically are higher, but I'll probably be expanding a little further into this yard along the other outside edge, because this middle area likes to fill up with water too, if you've watched my videos in the past. But outside of the nuke yard, all the other colonies and 4 other yards look pretty strong. I still got 3 more to check that received a Formic Pro treatment in September as a Hail Mary, and to my own surprise look really great. And now that's not treatment free beekeeping. That yard, I guess, is my treatment yard for sure. So when I go to that yard, I'm a treater, and when I go to my other yard, my nuke yard, I'm a treatment free beekeeper. And I guess the successes speak for themselves, tongue in cheek, right? But we have bees to make more splits with, and we have bees to add queens to from the survivor stock. And so far, all of the breeder queens that were tested on the Harbo scale are all alive, save 1 or 2. And some problems at the south yard, but so far the winter has been pretty harsh. I didn't expect more losses, but I was really trying to keep myself from getting too much anxiety. So everybody's still got food on them. I'm going to come back as we warm up these next couple of days. We'll be in the 40s. Grab some bees for apitherapy. Start getting that back going again, because it's warm enough to take bees off the top. And start preparing for spring as the weather warms up and we finally pull out of this crazy February frozen magical winterland. All right, thanks for watching. Okay, bye. Oh, dang it, why is it I never have my hive tool? Always leaving the hive tool everywhere. What the heck? Oh, okay. Here it is. Needs to be cleaned off. I'm spreading around bad beekeeping germs. All right, we got the rear locking axle and the 4-wheel driving gear. Let's see if I can get through without getting stuck. If I do, I guess I'm gonna be late for dinner. There's the bees. Bye, bees. Too sharp of a turn. How's reverse gonna work? That's fine. Grapevines are still up over here, so hopefully it'll be a good harvest from those again. And no worries. Everything's moving smooth. 3 more to check and then we're done.